Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I will be reviewing the iPhone 14 Pro Max in 2024. So I've used the iPhone 14 Pro Max since December 2022. So that's about 3 months after it was released in September of 2022. And it's been a solid phone. I think it's more than ready to handle your usage for the next few years, not just 2024. The only downside I see for it is that the lightning cable port that it uses still is going to be outdated. The iPhone 15 series and onward, probably for the next few years, will use USB-C, and like many computers and Androids use, USB-C is the norm, so having a lightning cable is a little outdated, but it's a minor inconvenience since it's just the cable, and the phone itself is still great. Now, I've been using the max size phone, and I do like the max size phone over the non-max size because the battery is just that much greater. I came from an iPhone XS, and I was using that up until 2022, and that was the regular size, and that was a great phone, but the battery did not last that long, and I have a review on that, but let's get to this phone, which we're talking about today. And now let's talk about all the little facets this phone has. Okay, so here we have it. Now I'm going to compare this to, the flagship phone, which is the iPhone 15 Pro Max. That's the newest phone that they have. They also have the iPhone 15 Pro, iPhone 15, and iPhone 15 Plus. Now, this 14 Pro Max is a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display, the same as the 13 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max. This one has the ProMotion technology, just like the 13 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max. This display has ProMotion technology with up to 120 Hertz. So what that means is it's very snappy. Like, there is absolutely no lag when, flipping pages, doing whatever, opening Spotify. Like, you're good with terms of speed. This was the start of the always on display. So what that means is when I turn it off, it's still on. Notice that. It's still on. And see, my MacBook agrees because you hear that ding in the background. But yeah, it's still on. All you got to do to turn it on is just touch it. There you go. And so this is a very nice black color. There are multiple colors in the 14 Pro Max. There's also gold, purple, and white. And I got the black because I came from a gold iPhone XS and I wanted to switch it up. And I actually have a review on that gold XS, which I was using up until I got this phone. Overall, this color has been treating me well. I mean, I usually have a case on it, like this black OtterBox or this apple leather case, both of which I have reviews for, but I always have a case. I don't want to drop this thing or crack it. So yeah, definitely would recommend a case if you're, want to be protective of it. Now, I'm not going to do a drop test, but actually just filming this, I accidentally did drop it, and it survived. So, yeah, it's very rigid. Highly recommend putting a case on it, though. The one thing about this phone is that it has had this type of casing for a few iterations now, and even the 15 Pro Max uses the same type. It's just more curved and different materials. But overall, this has stood the test of time. I still think it looks timeless. And, it's got that slab texture and hard corners, and I still like it. I use a case on this anyway, so I don't feel these corners digging into my fingers at all or anything, but overall, solid casing. The biggest difference between the actual body of this 14 Pro Max and the 15 Pro Max is that this is a stainless steel edge. Like, look at that. Very nice stainless steel. But on the 15 Pro Max, it's titanium, which is known to be lighter. So that titanium is a matte texture. This is not. This is very, metallic. It will, have that sweat if you have sweat on you, and it will have those fingerprints, but it's very, rigid, and, you don't have to worry about this. It won't be scratching. Another big difference between this and the newer version is that this has a ringer still. So you just switch it up to turn on the ringer or off. But in the 15 Pro Max, it's an action button. You just click it right there, and you can customize that action button to do different things. This dynamic island, this phone was the first to have the dynamic island, came out with that thing. So basically what that is so if I have some music playing right here, it's playing, and I go out all I have to do is click it right there and you get a little button and you can just take it back to the app. So the dynamic island, at the end of the day, it's not a necessity. If you have it, cool. If you don't, doesn't matter, but it is there and it can be useful, and I use it the most for music. This has the A16 Bionic chip, 6-core CPU and 5-core GPU, and a 16-core neural engine. And that's just fancy talk for saying it can do anything. You will have no issue doing with whatever you want to do on your phone. More than capable of your day-to-day tasks as well as recording. I have 487 Safari tabs open. Yes, I know. And the max is 500. And still absolutely no lag at all. And now for the camera. This camera is 3 cameras. There's a 48 megapixel main camera, an ultra wide lens, and a telephoto lens. There's super high resolution photos at 48 megapixels, and then they box it down to 12 megapixels so it doesn't doesn't take up that much room. And I've had a great experience with this camera. All of the videos that you're watching, like the video that you're watching right now, is taken on this phone. I'm just using a different phone, but this is the same 14 Pro Max, and other videos you see on my channel, also 14 Pro Max. I just put it into 4K mode and bam, there you go. For optical zoom, there's a 0.5x, a 1x, a 2x, and a 3x zoom. And then after that, there's optical zoom. So it's more than comfortable. Now, let's demonstrate how it works. 0.5, 1, 2, 3. The release of this phone allows emergency SOS via satellite. So if you're stuck in a desert, you can use that to get out. And that was new for this series. So the 13 Pro Max didn't have that via satellite. It just had regular emergency SOS. Well, according to the Apple website, this has 29 hours of video playback. So, I mean, I haven't tried doing that, and I don't think I would want to, but this gets a good amount of use from the battery. So after using it for about, 14 months? Over a year? Let's see what the battery health is. 88%. And I use my phone a lot. And I mean, I still think 88% is still running completely fine for me. I use the phone all day pretty much. It works. So no complaints on the battery. And I'm coming from a 10S, which had a way smaller battery. And the plus about this, if you're getting an iPhone 14 Pro or even a new phone, personally, I do recommend the bigger sized phone. So whether that's the Plus or the Pro Max, I would recommend, because the battery is just way bigger and it can handle a lot more. And so this will definitely get me through the day. I think if I had the regular 14 Pro, not the max size, I wouldn't get through the day. But if I had the 14 Plus, I think I would still get through the day because it has a bigger screen and thus it has more room for a bigger battery. Besides the battery being at an 88% level now for health, it's run the test of time. I have no point in upgrading it at all for at least 2, 3, maybe 4 years. Again, the only downside of this phone I see in 2024 is that it still uses the Lightning port, and the newer phones will use USB-C. The 15 Pro already does have the USB-C, so there you go. And, a lot of computers use USB-C. I mean, even the Apple's own iPads use USB-C, so Lightning is getting very outdated. Now, one recommendation I do have if you end up getting a phone, whether that's the 14 Pro Max or another one, is I would recommend going up at least one capacity. It starts out at 128 gigabytes for the 14 Pro Max, and I would recommend going for 256 or more. I ended up getting the 512 gigabyte, but one thing to note is that the newer phones, so 15 Pro Max, it starts at 256 gigabytes. So that's just to tell you how important it is to upgrade, especially if you take a few photos. I mean, if you take no photos at all, very little, very minimal, then 128 is totally fine. But if you're like me and you like taking photos, going places, then I recommend 256 or above. All right, so let's test Face ID. Boom, in. Now, Apple is known for allowing its phones to get the new OS updates, and for that reason, I don't have a need for upgrading this phone until it's no longer supporting the new OS.
I'm still on iOS 16.1.1 because I tend not to want to upgrade unless I need to. So I'm just holding out as long as possible. But when, an app requires me to update to the newest OS, I will update. Overall, do I recommend this phone in 2024? Yes. It's a resounding yes. If you can find it for a good price or whatever, highly recommend. No need to upgrade for a few years. The only thing that is a downside is that it still uses the lightning port, which is, a minor issue. It's just a cable. You can just buy a new cable for whatever, $20 or less. So overall, highly recommend this phone. No complaints. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. I'd love to talk to you about it. And hey, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, definitely hit like and subscribe. And I will see you on the next video.